thank everyone who's come out to listen. We don't normally get a crowd, so we really appreciate having people here to listen to us talk. So we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. We don't have a flag in this room, but there's a flag on that pole, so we'll all turn and face that way and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, if we can start with some administrative stuff, the approval of the minutes. We got the regular meeting minutes from September 24th, 2019. Did everyone get a chance to review those, and are there any questions?
Motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on Tuesday, September 24th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We also have the executive session meeting minutes from September 24th, 2019. Everyone got a chance to review those. Any questions?
Motion to approve the executive session minutes from Tuesday, September 24th, as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. Next on our agenda is the chairman's report. I am not the chairman, I'm the vice chairman. For those who don't know, my name is Van Pappas. Mr. Carter was called away on business. I did talk with him an hour ago, and he didn't have any specific data to report and wished us all good luck. Moving on to the next item is our financial report. Brian, you want to pull us in?
I will kick that off. If you'll look at the first page, the overall balance sheet, we've got $132,000 in change in our debt service account. We've got $87,000 in change in our operating account, $970 in change in our escrow account, $3,000 for prepaid insurance with current assets of $224,000. The other thing that I would bring to your attention is if you go back, I guess, 3 pages to the overall income statement that has the budget. That compares the actual to the budget. Just a couple things that were over or under the budget that I wanted to draw your attention to. The rental income, we're actually we've received more income than the budget anticipated, I think, due to the promotion center uncertainty when we were doing the budget last time around.
So it was supposed to be a large payment, is that why? When we collected that extra money?
No, so this is separate. We weren't anticipating new tenants, so we do have those 3 tenants.
Did we ever get paid that back money?
Paid us 2 months worth.
So there's still money that he owes us.
So that was in our favor. The other I would just draw your attention to is the legal services, where we've spent $107,000 more than we budgeted on legal services. Mr. Dan trying to keep us out of trouble.
So. I have suggested to the chair, this was a suggestion that was well received in the matter of the MOU, gas expenses henceforth off.
I think that's a great suggestion, and we should do that going forward. Anything else, Brian?
No, that's all I have on the financial report. Any questions?
Didn't see, is there a balance sheet? Are we okay cash-wise?
Yeah.
I didn't see that in here.
Yeah, and later on the agenda, we do have those 2 admin payments too.
Which should help significantly, yeah.
All right. Anyone have any questions about Brian's report? All right, we'll move on into the agenda. The next item is the branding committee. I believe, if I remember, Mr. Carter postponed that until November. So there's nothing to report on the branding committee. Move on to item 6, which is old business, tenant lease renewals and mass picture proposed building improvements. Catherine?
So, yeah, first we'll just talk about the tenant lease renewals. Robert has offered his services to help in negotiations. So we do have an update on one of our tenants, Ed Boyles, who has part of the parking lot next door and the warehouse. We've gotten a renewed lease with them and increased their usage, and tables and chairs, which we don't have a lease with, but they're paying month to
Month
month.
to month.
Yeah.
Has there been any discussion on the Voiles, the building partition?
No.
Or is that still?
So the ball's still in their court, waiting to see, basically our last offer was, can we lease back that little sliver of the warehouse, and we haven't heard one way or another, and I'm just letting it lie for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say,
Yeah, I'm satisfied with that.
no reason to stir that pot.
Okay.
And then the Mad Stitchers, this is what I brought to you guys last month. He's the one who rents out the small white house next door, just for storage, but he's interested in kind of beautifying the facade a little bit. So Robert and I met with him, I think it was last week, just to talk about what he wanted. So I've included his proposal, it's kind of halfway through the packet. He just sent an
This
email
email.
breaking it down, how much he could get. It's essentially just replacing the windows. All the forefront windows in the front are broken. Some aren't really attached to the building anymore. And so he just wants to replace those windows and then clean it up with some flower boxes. In the front, he's estimating it to be about $2,400. Now, he does owe some back rent. This is a clerical error on my part, so he never increased his rent as it stated in the lease, so he owes about $700. And he's fine if we want to work out a deal where we pay for the materials, he does the labor, and then we subtract the $741 from it. Just to get the place looking nice for now. And so depending on what you guys are not feeling, we can decide on this, and then moving forward, Robert and I will negotiate with him for a new lease, because his is running, or is up at the end of last month.
I think he also wants to do it and pay for it, as long as we sign his lease at the same time.
Right, but he wants a 3-year lease, and I don't know if that's, it's not, I don't know if
We
we
might
will.
be appreciative of that.
I would say the only reason you would do a longer lease would make sure that you have a clause in there for an out if we find ourselves in a situation where we need to redevelop and we have to kick all those tenants out for redevelopment. Do you have any thoughts on that?
You do a 3-year lease, and then after the first year, it's the termination clause.
Yeah. Do the same
Do the
thing.
same thing, yeah.
Gives him security of knowing he's got a longer lease and us the ability to.
And then we don't have to work on it again, year after year, for
That makes sense, that's true.
So,
Okay. Do you need us to motion anything, Catherine, or are you?
No, as long, no, we can just
I mean,
move forward
honestly-
on negotiations.
Anything else on Matt Stitcher and the tenant lease renewals? If we move on. Next item is the SLX extension.
Yeah, so this is going back within Dan, you might have a better update than I do. Last month, when we granted them an extension, I think there was some confusion as to what that extension is for. My understanding is that it is starting November 1st, that's when we start invoicing them the $5,000. Skipping ahead a little bit, if you look at their admin payment, the very last page of the packet, you'll see that they have, at the September 24th CDDA meeting, the Chamblee Downtown Development Authority approved an extension of the MOU in exchange for fee for $5,000 per month, which we did, but it says to add an extension of 15 months, which I thought it was 12 months. The start date of the MOU we updated from December 1st, 2016 to March 1st, 2018. And I just need clarification on that, because my understanding was it was 12 months starting from a year ago. So we're giving them an extension, whereas they were supposed to be done last November, or the November 2018. You're saying
And
it's
now, November's 2019.
Right.
That's what I was.
Yeah,
understanding.
I would just
So-
phrase that differently.
Well, and then just changing the months when we go
15
back.
to 12.
I just want to clarification on that.
Catherine, is there any documentation there other than minutes?
Of what?
Any documentation of the extension other than the minutes?
Just in the minutes.
Do we need a formal
Yeah,
document?
thank you. I'll read that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any, is that clear enough?
That's all I need.
All right, we'll move on to new business. The first item of new business is the Warren Capital Abatement Analysis. It's my understanding that they've asked to defer this until next month. So there's no discussion on that, which then moves us to item B, the Pruitt Health Abatement Analysis. So do you want to start, or do you want to just go straight to the
Yeah, we'll go straight to Chris.
So if y'all want to stand up and let us know who you are and who you're with, and then you can present.
Great, I'd love to plug this up in too, if I can.
Why don't you, Catherine, get you all set up on that, and you can introduce yourself while he's doing that.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tyler Arnold. I'm the Chief Development Officer for Pruitt Health. A little bit about Pruitt Health. We've been in business for about 50 years, since 1969. We started in Toccoa, Georgia. And we are in the long-term care business. So we take care of elderly, both in skilled nursing, assisted living, hospice. Our current corporate headquarters is located in Norcross, Georgia, just down the road. And the organization is interested in moving inside the perimeter. The Chambly location that we've identified just down the road across from the MARTA station is our ideal location, but we are here asking for help with the abatement to help entice us to come. Our footprint goes as far north as North Carolina. It goes down to Florida. We have over 100 skilled nursing facilities. We employ approximately 16,000 caregivers. About half of those are here in the state of Georgia. We care for about 24,000 patients every day. We're very proud of our organization, and we think that making our home here in Chambly will help us to continue to grow and take care of those that need help. Subject to your questions, I'll introduce our developer, Chris Scott, who will present on the actual project.
Hi, good evening. I'm Chris Scott with Greenstone Properties. We're the developer for this project. There it is. First, I'll just show you an aerial of 5238 Peachtree Road, which I've highlighted in yellow. This is the Chambly MARTA station. Peachtree Road comes along here. Mullen Drive is here, so this is the corner. This time there's a 20,000 square foot office building on the site and a surface parking lot. The building was built in 2002. We are currently seeking DCR approval. We should be heard in November 14th. We submitted last week and are still working on through that process with City Council. We came in front of DRB a month or so ago, and I had a lot of comments that we're working on design. I'm going to show you a version here in a minute of that design that I think is still a work in progress. We're working with City Council to come up with a building that not only Chambly is proud of, but Pruitt Healthcare is also proud of on this site. This is a site plan in Peachtree Road, Malone Drive, and this shows the footprint of Pruitt's corporate headquarters. Again, this is a corporate headquarters that would move from Norcross. There's not a health component like their facilities that they operate around the southeast. What you're seeing is a 198,000 square foot office building. A lot of this you have in your packet, but the building values at this time is $79.2 million. The personal property investment is $6.7 million. In the first phase of this move, this is standing at the corner of Peachtree, Malone Drive. The first phase of this move, they anticipate bringing 529 jobs from Norcross with an average salary of just over $73,000. The building is sized for over 800 and actually 890 employees. So it's important for Pruitt Healthcare. They're going to either own this building or they're going to lease it for 20 years. Initially, they're going to sign a 20-year lease with numerous purchase options along the way, giving them flexibility to buy this building at the right time for the company. Some additional costs / hardships just due to site conditions and the design include drilled piers. After doing the geotechnical work, we found that The site needed rope piers at a cost of $740,000. Initially, this was more of a glass building. DRB, with their comments, we've added brickwork and fenestration to the cost at this time of $985,000. Also, DRB requested that we screen the parking deck on all sides. That cost was $1.1 million. The requirement of active use space, just in the zoning code, we're going to put in a 8,500 square foot restaurant / cafe that will be open to the public, which is unique for corporate headquarters, but something Pruitt was willing to and open to do. This cost is $2,075,000. There's an existing detention vault that is on the site that actually serves this 20,000 foot building and the property next door. To move that's $300,000. And this last one, I put an asterisk by. We're working with Georgia Power right now to bury the power lines, and frankly, they just haven't gotten back to us. We anticipate that cost to be about $300,000, so that's in my line item. But the total cost of these cost / hardships is $5.5 million.
You want to open it to questions, or you got more to present?
No, that's open to questions.
Anyone from the board have questions for either gentleman?
Have you considered other sites, and what would they be?
Not in Chamblee. We have numerous sites over the last several years. And really, there's no site today that we have a letter of intent on. We're focused on the site. We have the site under contract, and it's subject to getting the DCI approval and incentives that approve would move forward. So I think you guys probably know as much about this as I do, but they've looked at sites in Brookhaven, City of Atlanta, Doraville, etc. They're perfect normal. So, but this is Chamblee. Really, they want this to be their home. This is a unique site. The zoning for this site is there. The access to MARTA is there. It's just a unique, special site that I think would be a great home for Pruitt Healthcare.
So one of our members couldn't be here tonight, and he sent me an email asking to ask this question. I'm going to read it verbatim because this is from him. Said, and this is for you, not for Pruitt. Generally speaking, as a developer, what would be the timeline to build a spec office building on the site from the time you close to the time you get a certificate of occupancy? What he's basically asking is, what's the benefit of you having a company like Pruitt or any tenant in tow with you, rather than just building this to spec and trying to lease it up?
It's a good question. It's an easy one to answer because we were pursuing this site with the property owner, not with Pruitt. We actually were pursuing the site on Greenstone's behalf. We were going to put the site under contract with the landowner's blessing and chase tenants. So we were going to spend the time and money. The building wouldn't look like this. It would have been smaller, probably 100 to 150,000 feet at its maximum capacity. But then we'd have chased tenants. And it's very hard in Atlanta, Georgia to land a lead tenant. It's very hard to land a build-to-suit tenant. So we've had success through the years doing that. HD Supply is a great example in the Cumberland market. We had that site under contract for 2 years before HD Supply came along. And then from the point we started those conversations until we delivered, it was probably another 22 to 24 months. So it was almost a 4-year window from when we showed up, put the property under contract, started going through a DCI process. In Cobb County, it was already zoned, so we just had to have a DRB approval. But it was 4 years, where this process is, from start to finish, is half that. So it's significant.
And can Pruitt talk a little bit more about the jobs? You mentioned they're going to bring in, what was the number you said, 500?
29.
Actually.
So can you talk a little bit about those jobs and the ramp up to fill the rest of the space?
So those are coming from the Norcross that will come to the Chamblee office. We anticipate between 5 and 10% growth annually. And those jobs range from our executive suite down to Medicaid billers and administrative staff.
That's all right. Keep that.
One component, we will have some therapy services that will be offered for outpatient therapy.
That's what our activities is.
Right.
Our physical therapy outpatient clinic.
So there will be some outpatient and physical therapist.
Okay, because what you said originally was that this was just office and.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was thinking more, your typical product, people stay there overnight, and this is more kind of in and out.
There's no long-term custodial
There is
care
no
facility.
custodial, there's no, it would be more of an appointment with them coming to get their therapy services from us. Perhaps the neighbors that are long-term cares.
Anyone else have any questions?
What else did, Rob? did you have
That was
That's the big one.
yeah, you already asked the other question, yeah.
I'm a little curious about the parking, the quantity of parking. Are you reducing the parking provided because of the access to MARTA?
Yes, typically in a project this size, especially for planning on 890 employees being there, you really want to be 4 per thousand at least. We've gone down to about 3 per thousand. As a developer, I like more parking. So if something ever happened to Pruitt and I need to backfill it, the more parking the better. The zoning for this site, then no parking is needed. And so we could come in and say no parking spaces, which makes no sense. But we have decreased it due to the thought people will use more of it in the future.
But you do anticipate that a lot of the population will be driving to the site.
Some certainly will, but our hope is that MARTA use, that we're going to supplement or give out MARTA passes to encourage the use of MARTA.
And the
Maybe,
thought of
or maybe
requirements-
they could just live here.
Yeah, and the thought of requirements for
That's
people
right.
in Chamblee to live here, that work here, to live here, to live in apartments nearby. And that's one of the big thoughts of moving from Norcross to Chamblee is the population of the employees will change over time. And the demographics of those employees will become more Chamblee versus Norcross.
Do most of your employees, are they 9 to 5 employees? Are they different hours? I mean, what?
Most of the corporate headquarters are 9 to 5. They're not like the caregivers that are in our facilities.
Flexible hours? I mean, where I'm going with this is, are they going to all be arriving between 8:15 and 8:30, or are they going to be showing up at different times?
So currently we have some that show up at 7, and then at least 4. Others that show up at 9 and leave at 6. So it's not as though everyone has to be there at the exact same time. And some of our leadership that's there are out in the field, obviously in North Carolina and South Carolina. So it's not all 560 every single day at that location.
And it's 560, I guess, in phase 1. There was a phase 2.
Actually, we've gotten rid of the phasing. So
Okay.
this whole building we did built at the same time.
All at the same time. Okay.
Would the park, since nighttime employees wouldn't be there, would the parking be open to the public for public parking if the city needed those spaces?
The thought is we'd be open to those conversations. Being a corporate headquarters, security in a corporate headquarters location is so important and so critical. So to open even the cafe, that's a hard thing to do. To open up the courtyard and back to the public, that's an impossible thing to do. To open up the parking, I think that'd be challenging, but it's something, if a conversation, somebody want to have a conversation.
Maybe you have, so there would be obviously a parking gate that employees would have to use a key card to get in. Maybe you push that gate to the end of the first level, so that first 20 or 30 spaces, whatever it is, could be available in the evening.
Would be open to
Just a thought, I don't know if the city needs parking in that area or not.
Well, I know that there's always a desire for additional parking, and as that area redevelops, the parking situations get more and more significant.
So tell me about the cafe again. How many,
So it's about 8,000 feet. So it'll be a restaurant that will be open for employees to work there, but also to the public.
Can
There'll
you
be
bring up that site plan
in
again?
Sun Sea.
Is it going to be right there on the
So
corner?
these umbrellas you see right here will be for the cafe. So they'll serve breakfast and lunch.
Can you switch back to the site plan?
So it's part of this active space here. And this is a 2,200 square foot terrace that would kind of serve the cafe.
What is the distance from the front of the facade of the building to the curb? Is that 20 feet or more?
Oh, you're asking me a tough question. This distance here, it's whatever code required us to do, that's exactly what it is. I can't tell you, to be honest. I don't remember that dimension. But there was a specific code required us, and the zoning ordinance required us to really push this whole building on both sides, all the way to the street. That much. Somebody in the back can answer the question.
Well, I know there's probably people in the audience that have all kinds of questions. You are more than welcome when they leave for the meeting to talk to them out there. You're more than welcome to make public comments in a second when we get to the public comments. But I'd rather not have a back and forth question because this meeting is, DDA.
Happy to
You're welcome to
questions.
ask them personal questions out in the lobby. Is there any more questions from the DDA members? All right, then thank you all so much for coming and presenting, and I'm sure there'll be many more discussions on this project going forward. But we'll go ahead and move forward with the next item of new business, which is the Oliver admin payment. Sandra?
We have that on the second last page of your packet. Checked out the numbers, everything was correct, their administration payment, very similar to last year at 207,
207, that sounds so big last year.
close to that, yeah, because by that point, they had already sold it. to the new owner.
Oh,
So
because,
it's around the same.
so let's just recap for the people watching, to remind them that the Olmsted, or the Oliver, or whatever we're calling it these days, the building with the big shanty sign on it, was a project with the DDA, and every year they have to make an administrative payment to the DDA with a percentage of what the valuation or proposed taxes were. And so I believe the original numbers, when we first talked about this years ago, had it around $80,000 or $90,000. And they recently sold that property, which caused a higher valuation. So you're saying now, instead of getting, and if I remember right, at that time, the 80 or 90,000 was in excess of what the city would have gotten in city taxes had they built it without our assistance.
Right.
So now you're talking about, we're more than doubling what we had proposed as a payment. That's awesome. I think that's awesome.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it will give us some additional funding to make improvements in the downtown area.
Is that on the agenda just as an update, or is
I would
there
like
something?
So the board has to agree on the amount, and then within 10 days, the auditor has to pay it, so I would like an official.
Dan, is there anything that, from a legal perspective, that you want?
I was just checking, do we have that in the package?
Yes, this second to last page.
So, all right.
This one right here.
Here it is.
So the value of 82 million is what we're approving?
You're approving the actual admin value, you're approving the math that they've done here to get to that.
They've done the math that the total taxable value is 82 million, which would be an assessed value of 33 million, and at the current millage rate,
Yeah, so
it would have been 140,000, is that what they're
So
saying?
they either have to pay, the larger amount of the two, either 10% of regular taxes or 100% of city taxes, in this case, 100%
The
is the
city
higher
taxes
one,
would be the
which is
higher.
207.
They've got the money in front.
So each year, we just need to motion to approve that their numbers are
That
accurate.
we agree to their admin
To the,
amount.
agree to their,
That they have 10
does
days.
anyone have any problem with
What
the numbers?
was
that
the
they're showing?
state's one for? Do you know?
It was around 82 last
So
year.
that's
About
pretty
70
close.
million.
The taxable value is pretty close.
Yeah.
Still, we'll see how value. Okay.
So we need a motion to approve.
We're gonna wait to see if Dan had any questions before.
Bear with me. this came up once before. What are they saying that the tax equivalent pay is? That's, it's $142,000. What do they consider that to be?
So that would be 10% of the total.
Okay. That's a
This payment has to be made in November every year. When does that?
They have to submit it to us in November, and then whenever we approve it, then it's 10 days. So if we wanted to defer, and we approved it in December.
I don't see any reason to defer.
Yeah.
We don't suppose to send it to them, let's get our money.
Yeah, as long
Yeah,
as Dan doesn't have.
they wanted to send it last month, so.
Why are we turning down money?
We're not turning it down, we're just going through the proper steps.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a reduction to president, well, conversion to 2018 savings to 2016 dollars.
That's for SLX, I think.
What I'm saying is, I can't verify this by looking at it. I can tell you, it looks plausible, but I would normally check the math. Did they send us a spreadsheet for this?
This is all, so this is the only thing that the Oliver sent us, was just
A
the,
real spreadsheet. I can look at that formulas.
I mean, yeah, I can send, this was, I mean, obviously it's printed out, but this was.
I mean, if this looks right, and I doubt that it's wrong, but I've been, can I tell you about what I've been doing with spreadsheets this week? I found a couple of bugs in it. So my suggestion would be approve it, subject to,
Confirmation by council.
yeah, verification. And I'll do that quickly, so.
Let's do that. Make a motion.
Motion to approve the payment schedule as submitted, conditioned upon review by council.
That's it.
Second.
Catherine, could you ask them to send me their spreadsheets, so I don't have to create one?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Um,
All right. So that moves into item D, which is the SLX admin payment.
Yeah, so this, I'm guessing will be the same issue, that's the very last page. And this deal was a little different as well, so, Dan, I'm sure you're gonna wanna look over this.
Yeah, this is much different.
Yes.
I think the best thing would be,
Actually, I was looking at this one a minute ago, so I had exactly the same comments.
Right.
Yeah, I think-
Right.
So should.
I think this
similar
one
motion?
is either that or just defer it and let Dan have the next 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can get to you.
That's what I'm saying.
It's what it's today. I can get to you in
I think roughly the same motion to accept the proposed payment calculations as submitted by SLX, conditional upon review by council.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we've got one more item. We got the ARC State of the Region November 8th.
Yeah, so that's a breakfast on November 8th at 7 a.m. We were all invited. I've gotten acceptances from both Roberts, but nobody else.
We didn't even know it.
It's, you got it.
You can
You got
have
an
it.
email?
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize.
So we don't have to register with anybody else,
You
right?
Just
don't,
review.
and my guess is you'll be at the council table.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so just let me know, because if we have some extra seats, then I'd like to see, invite Dan and Don, see if they can join us, but I want to give you guys.
Before we move to the final item of public comment, I think Leslie has an agenda item she wanted to add
I
to.
would like to add an item to the agenda.
Do we need to discuss adding it to the agenda?
Motion
before we
to
discuss
add an
the-
item to the agenda for the purpose of discussing sponsorship for Veterans Day celebration.
Do we have a
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adding that to the agenda?
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
Go for it.
I am asking that the DDA be a premier sponsor for $500 for, I don't know that this is just a table. James, are you still here? No. But this,
Yes,
this
we
women
is in the back.
so this is not just for a table, but this is just to be a premier sponsor.
Yes.
Okay. To be a premier sponsor for the 2019 Veterans Day celebration honoring our veterans on Monday, November 11th, to be held at the Civic Center, Chamblee Civic Center.
Second for that?
Second.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Is it the opinion of the board that this promotes redevelopment, revitalization of the central business district?
It is in our central business district.
And it promotes revitalization, redevelopment?
It
Yes.
It
promotes
does.
the,
Good with me.
I think we had a second from Brian.
No, me.
Oh, from Brian. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so now we've come to the great part of public comments. We welcome public comments, so if anyone has things they want to say, please step up to the front table and tell us your name and what your comments are. Anyone?
My name is Maria Hetzel, and I live at 5200 Peachtree Road, which is right directly across the street from Malone Drive, which is the proposed Pruitt development site. And I mean, Chamblee has been highlighted in the Atlanta Business Chronicle as a great place to be, and they talked about various developments that are going on in Chamblee. And I feel that Pruitt, as a healthcare company, healthcare is probably one of the strongest businesses on the planet these days, and the safest businesses to be in, and most lucrative businesses to be in. I know that they're charging for long-term care anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 a month for care for people. And I really don't believe that there's any reason for us to award any sort of tax abatement to the Pruitt development. I believe that going from a 20,000 square foot building that's beautiful and has awesome green space for the neighbors, going to this almost 200,000 square foot building, this behemoth on the corner, is going to be a detriment to our community. I mean, I would love to have Pruitt in Chamblee, but not on that corner, and not with the proposed development that we saw. The green space is completely eliminated for us right now. We have, right now, a beautiful green space, a 20,000 square foot building. It's fully functional, and I believe that putting Pruitt on that corner is going to downgrade that corner significantly for all of the neighbors. It's a primarily residential neighborhood. Across Malone, behind the building, diagonally from it, and now there's 2 more apartment complexes that are about ready to open. There's no reason to slam a corporate headquarters right there, jam it up against the sidewalk, eliminate all of our green space, take down the 2 amazing oak trees that are sitting on the property, and I can't see any point for a tax abatement. I mean, it's a downgrade, and then when you consider the traffic that's going to be added to our neighborhood and the wear and tear on the roads, if anything, we should be penalizing them for trying to put a huge headquarters on that corner. We're trying to narrow the streets from 4 lanes down to 2 lanes to make it more pedestrian friendly. We don't need to throw 500 cars on the streets between 7 and 9 a.m. and again between 4 and 6 p.m. I mean, it's going to be horrible for the entire neighborhood. I just can't see how it's a positive in that location. I'd love to see Pruitt and Chamblee, but not there. Maybe on the corner of Chamblee Tucker and Peachtree. There's a great place right there. I don't know what's planned to go there. I heard something about townhomes possibly. But, or maybe, you know, I know it's not Chamblee, but the GM plant location. I don't know. I just don't see it as being a positive to give them a tax abatement, and definitely not 20 years. I mean, I lived here 15 years ago. Anybody deserves a tax abatement. Count me in. I was here when it was pretty trashy, and now it's nice.
Thanks.
I'm already standing, I'll go next.
Okay.
Brian Road, I live in the same place as Maria. I'm going to start by saying I appreciate the work the DDA has done and with bringing a lot of the cool things we have to Chamblee. We have a Whole Foods now where there was a brownfield. We have a trackside nice office building that's suitable for that site. Thanks to projects that the DDA have put together and helped these developments with. This does not need help. This site does not need help. And I want to address one thing. The first gentleman from Peru who spoke, he said they needed this to entice them to come to Chamblee. So it seems like that they would be doing us a favor, apparently. Whereas I agree with Maria, since they would be moving into a site where they would be immediately benefiting from a multi-million-dollar streetscape project, maybe they should actually be paying some extra taxes for the first few years, not getting an abatement. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone else?
Good evening, my name is Louis Newmark. I live at 3400 Malone Drive. I lived there for 8 years. I've seen the street grow from having just 2 residential components on there, the building I live in, which has 60 residential condominium units and 4 commercial ground level units that are retail / mixed use for office space, and then 1 apartment building across the street where it's operated by Mercy, I believe it's Mercy Care, which is an apartment subsidized, I believe it's a subsidized housing unit or apartment unit for elderly people, meet certain criteria to rent there. And we've had several other developments, significant developments happen on that street, one of which were some improvements of the property that folks are looking to build a headquarters on for Pruitt, as well as the WGSI building, which is an office building across the street directly across the street from 3400 Malone, where I live, the North DeKalb Senior Center, which took several years to build, and we have an outstanding facility there. It's just walking distance for both the seniors that live in the building next to the apartment building, as well as myself, my building. And then there were some significant improvements that Comcast had undergone at their facility as well before they relocated their retail space to down the road into Buckhead. There are also 2 new projects that are approaching completion. One of them was mentioned tonight. It's the SLX project, which is directly next door to 3400 Malone. Those are all apartments and also mixed use for some sort of retail as well as office space. And then one directly across the street on the other side of Malone Drive, both of those on the corner of Malone and Peachtree Boulevard. That is Antiva Malone. Again, that's going to be for apartments, rental apartments for a certain age group, but I believe it's 50 and up is what their target is. Also be retail and other types of possibly office space there. So currently the infrastructure on that street, is adequate when there's no construction going on to support all of the folks who live there. However, we're getting ready to introduce at least 1,100 more residents onto that street over the next 18 months as these projects complete. The city has not done anything to really improve the traffic flow or do any significant traffic studies on Malone Drive. So that's the situation on Malone. So the effect that this proposed building is going to have to Malone Drive is going to be egregious in terms of not just car traffic, but delivery vehicle traffic, other services that are going to be be servicing the building, because based on these plans, we see the fire lane is where they're going to be, which is on Malone Drive, is going to be the primary access egress to that particular building. Personally, I don't have a problem with Pruitt coming to Chamblee. I think it's kind of a neat place to be. That's why I moved here. Aesthetics for how the building looks, I don't want to comment, but what I do want to comment is the impact on traffic that this building is going to have. It's going to double the amount of traffic we're going to see on Malone Drive, essentially, because I don't believe there is enough infrastructure there to support it today. So I'm asking the CDDA and the developer and Pruitt to modify the plans to put all access onto Peachtree Road. If they're going to see any abatement at all, it should be tied to moving all of the traffic off of Malone Drive except for a fire lane. By the way, what is the address of the property? It is on Peachtree Road, not Malone Drive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Louis. Do we have anyone else that would like to make comments? Yeah, come on up.
Hi, I'm Carly Yarbrough from 2884 Plantation Lane in Huntley Hills. I am not coming based on the building or the traffic. I'm coming against Pruitt in particular. I don't feel like that company serves our values as a city. I have personal experience with them, as well as I think my husband has sent the council or the DDA some information about the historical nature of the business, having actually killed people, been responsible for death. So while I realize that we can't say, some companies are good, some companies are bad, this one in particular, on that particular site that has a history with Senior Connections being there for so many years, serving the seniors in this community, I feel is just not the right place for Pruitt to belong, and certainly doesn't show the values of the Chamblee that I know. I'm happy to go into more details if anyone has questions, but that's where I'll leave it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Any other comments?
Yes.
Sir John.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry for my English. This is not the best. My name is Ali Silva, and I live in 5200. And I just wanted to probably project my comment to you, the authorities, okay? I face the traffic every single day, okay? And right now, in one meeting here, they say that that corner is considered the traffic-wise. I don't know how it's going to be with Pruitt, whoever comes over here, okay? I'm Hispanic, and I always see the guys parking right next to the side of where they pretend to build the building. And they always have hard time, because they have to move the cars. Right now, they are parking, I think, at the building that is not open yet, but they are parking over there. But in the morning was always traffic. When you elect any authority in life, you are believing in them. I don't believe in them, because they are following their business. But I believe in all of you, okay? I believe in our mayor, I believe in the other authorities, and I vote for you because you represent us as the people who live in Chamblee, okay? And I want you to consider that right now, today, 22nd, is a problem in that corner with traffic. I drive every single day, early in the morning, at lunch again, back. I go back because I have a business very close here. So if we have a problem right now, okay, and you are trying to expand the sidewalk, just think about it, okay? It's not, I don't think it's too difficult. They can come with beautiful words, better than mine, that I don't have too many in English, okay? They can come with that, but that is fake. At the end of the day, that's not going to happen, okay? There is going to be traffic, there we're going to have a problem, and the people are going to be, affected. And the only one who can decide on that are you, the authorities. So I know that Maria said that before. I just wanted to have the peace of mind that I say it, okay? I think that we are counting with you, okay, that represents. Thank you.
ask one more?
Yeah, Ira Haber, History Malone Office as well. And first of all, thank you for your service. I know y'all are volunteers, and what you're doing is wonderful work. I beg of you, as individuals, to come down to Malone and Peachtree tomorrow morning. I leave from my office at about 6:15, and come and see what they're all talking about, what we have to put up with every day as far as these deliveries and construction work that's not supposed to start until 7. I'm in the construction business. I'd love a concrete contract on that, pouring, placing, and finishing that, okay? But I wouldn't do it there. See what we've had to deal with for the past 2.5, 3 years, what we're going to have to deal with for the next 3 years, what you're doing across the street to improve the sidewalks and the landscape, fantastic. The stop signs that are on Peachtree Road, 5%. Where have they been? I mean, now I don't see guys flying from, I don't even know what street, going 40, 45 miles an hour, all the way to the stoplight at Chamblee, Tucker Road. Okay? And we live there, and I can't say enough about that property. There's no reason in my logical world that a $500+ million company should be asking for us to give them money. My taxes would be going to that, is the way I understand it. So the question I have for the DDA right now is, what is an abatement originally, or what is it meant for? Because my understanding, and like I said, I'm in the construction business, I deal with a lot of developers, I deal with a lot of general contractors, was primarily for blighted properties where it would sit and somebody wouldn't come into it and do anything, and it would just sit there. I know, for instance, the other company that was on here, the area that they're looking at is going to sit forever. And I don't know if that deserves it either. But I do know that the things that Pruitt is selling us on, oh boy, we're going to have a cafe that's open from 7 till whenever. Well, we've got really good cafes that are open already. Those cars are going to be coming from Norcross, from Alpharetta, from Gwinnett County. They're not going to be coming from somewhere else, because they're not creating new jobs in Chamblee. They're creating new jobs, new place for the old jobs to be working. And if it takes all that to build that beautiful building right there, then it needs to go somewhere else, in my never be humble opinion. I agree with I don't know anything about Pruitt's business, but I know that it's a private company, but I know we can find out that that doesn't need to be, they don't need a tax break. And I'm assuming that's what an abatement is, because that's what it's always been in the past when I've been to these meetings with developers and been on the other side, okay? But it's always been blighted areas. They held up a poster. It is a beautiful thing. That building, I know there's at least one other developer in the southeast that could probably bring something. I mean, if all the developers, nothing against you guys, that could bring something else to that, either repurpose it for residents where people pay taxes, or repurpose it for tear it down in townhomes that's legitimate right across the street from MARTA, because anybody that's going to be riding MARTA is going to be coming from south. They're not going to be coming from north. Right. Nobody's going to go to the, what do you call it, the Doraville station and ride one stop.
Right.
Okay? So to me, it's a lot of pie in the sky, and it's a monument to whoever's in charge of Pruitt today. And I don't think we need that there. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else?
Thomas Hogan, I'm on the Chamblee City Council. I work with the zoning and land use and those sorts of matters in another venue. And what I want to talk about tonight is the tax abatements, and some of you heard some of my opinions about this. You know, Pruitt's a great example, though. We're very lucky to have a nice, large, very successful company who desire to have their home here. One of the things that is disconcerting is the shifting from Norcross to Chamblee. 500 people is an awful lot of cars, And it really, I just can't help but just see the streets of Chamblee fill up with an amazing number of cars. I would really be interested in there being an opportunity for the DDA and the city actually to work together. I think that a nickel shy of mandating some sort of use of public transit, to be able to have tax abatements, and let's be clear, tax abatements, in my opinion, are to be awarded for those hardships that our codes dictate, not the negotiations that a builder has. So with the Development Review Board or with City Council, so let's not be confused about what a hardship is, what the negotiation is to make a project right. But I really do think that the current, and it's too bad. I mean, I think that maybe another site in Chamblee would be the most advantageous situation possibly, yet to be evaluated fully, of course. But I really do think that there is a lot of opportunity that's missed where I don't see. I would be very, very surprised if even as many as 10% of the people, of these 500 people, I just can't imagine 50 of them taking public transit. And the leniency that the city's always given as it relates to these sites is to be able to promote the use of MARTA for the specific purpose of attaining our own self-prescribed goals for achieving sustainable living practices, to be able to be good stewards of our streets and making sure that we're doing everything possible to keep traffic off the streets. And I just don't think that this does it. So my comments are to you in regards to the tax abatement, though. And I would hope that you would make sure that you are very critical of what the real hardship is that might justify the tax abatements, and that you think really long and hard about what negotiations you can make in order for them to have if they go there and if this thing is built, let's Chambleeize their corporate culture so that there is a true sense of sustainability in the mindset of the people that come and work here and be here every day.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else? Yeah?
My name is Greg Garbo. I live at 2084 Plantation Lane. I used to work for Senior Connections for 3 years. I consider myself an advocate for seniors. I understand the need for certain long-term skilled nursing facilities. To echo what my wife said, having seen Pruitt facilities, having read about them in the news, and having looked at their reports with the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare, they're just not a good company for Chamblee to do business with. As we've seen from them leaving Gwinnett County under odd conditions, I know that they're not going to pick up and do it again to Chamblee. I wanted to correct what you said. They're a $1.2 billion company, and the majority of their revenue comes from Medicaid and Medicare reimbursements. So as taxpayers, you're already paying their bottom line. They don't need our money. They certainly don't need to, apparently, entice them to come here. So there's no reason that we should support this abatement. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Absolutely. Do we have any others?
I know I made a comment already, but I wanted to make a comment. Maybe this doesn't ever get mentioned, but I don't remember anybody actually saying what they are asking for in terms of time or dollar amount, percentage, or anything. Does that not get discussed at these?
Yeah, so that has not been determined yet. There's been no discussion amongst the DDA as to if we do participate in any way, what that participation would be. So for me to just say this is what it could be.
So they're not requesting a specific amount?
Well, they are. They have come in asking for a multi-year abatement where it is at a 75% value to start and it tiers down to 55%. So, but that's not really, I mean, they can come in and ask for whatever. At the end of the day, the DDA, if it does award an abatement, we'll base it on whatever, we're going to get out of it. Any more public comments? All right, then we will move to the end. Catherine, do we have executive session stuff with?
Yeah.
So I need a motion to move into executive session.
some purpose.
I can make a motion. so.
Motion to move into executive session for the purposes of discussing a real estate transaction.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. We really do appreciate it for everything you said.
Does council want to stay?
What's on? Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
wait.
Brian has a.
Brian has a motion to make before.
Motion to authorize the chair to sign the zoning application for the town center on behalf of the DDA.
Yes, sir. Hold on.
This isn't on the agenda, is it? Do we have another business item on the agenda?
We do not.
All right, let's add it to the agenda.
You need to modify the agenda first.
Motion to add a other agenda item to the agenda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Now I'll repeat
Would
my
you
motion.
like this other motion, please?
Motion to authorize the chair to sign the zoning application for the town center on behalf of the DDA.
Robert, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Now.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's go on.